Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. My dear students, my today's lecture is the explanation of the poem The Daffodils by William Wordsworth. William Wordsworth, a very famous name in English literature, poetry. A little introduction about William Wordsworth is a poet of nature, rather a worshipper of nature. William Wordsworth may be regarded as the worshipper of nature because he worshipped nature. Why? Because he says that nature has a soothing and healing effect on the mankind. He thinks that nature is a living personality and there is a divine spirit pervading all the objects of nature. He says that nature gives joy to human heart and has a healing influence for the grieved stricken hearts. गमज़दा दिलों के लिए ये हीलिंग इफेक्ट है, ये एक इलाज है. नेचर, it has soothing and healing effects. Let us read stanza number 1. This is a very beautiful poem, The Daffodils, when the poet was fond of wandering in the valleys and high over the hills in order to explore nature and enjoy its beauty. Similarly, in one of his walks in the valley, he comes across the daffodils, the beautiful flowers which were grown in bulks, and it attracted William Wordsworth so much that he stared and gazed on these daffodils since long. He says that he was enchanted by the beauty of the daffodils. Now, in the first stanza, he says that I wandered lonely as a cloud that floats on high over vales and hills, when all at once I saw a crowd, a host of golden daffodils, beside the lake, beneath the trees, fluttering and dancing in the breeze. He says that the poet once was walking all alone in the valley. In the first stanza, the poet compares himself with a cloud which floats over, which moves over the hills and the valleys all alone. So it depicts a sad and lonely mood of the poet. He feels lonely at that time when he walks among the hills, and he says that he was like a cloud, a lonely cloud which roams, which moves over the hills and valleys. The poet compares himself with a cloud, saying that he was wandering all alone like a cloud that floats over hills and valleys. When all at once I saw a crowd, suddenly I happened to see. He says that he happens to see a crowd like host, huge amount of daffodils grown in a large scale. He says that he happens to see the golden daffodils which were grown in crowd, which were grown in bulk. The poet himself is fond of natural beauty and he enjoys it. He is wandering in the hills and valleys. So during his walk, he comes across a field of daffodils beside a lake. He says that these daffodils were grown beside a lake. एक झील के किनारे ये उगे हुए थे. Beneath the trees, and they were covered by the shade of the beautiful green trees, fluttering and dancing in the breeze. They were grown in bulk, and the cool breeze was blowing. It means the weather is very pleasant, and the cool breeze was blowing. These daffodils were dancing and fluttering endlessly along the shore. He says that these daffodils seem to enjoy the cool breeze, and they are so happy that they have started dancing in the breeze, fluttering and dancing, moving their heads, although the waves of the lake danced along the flowers. He says that this beautiful sight cheers him greatly. And he was so much attracted and delighted that he describes the daffodils as human beings, because human beings always dance in happiness. So he describes daffodils, this nature, as a human being. He says he is so much impressed by the beauty of daffodils that he describes them as human beings who are dancing, moving their heads in the cool and beautiful breeze of the pleasant weather. Your stanza number 2 is continuous as the stars that shine and twinkle on the Milky Way. They stretched in never-ending line along the margin of a bay. 10,000 saw I at a glance, tossing their heads in sprightly dance. He says that now in the second stanza, the poet goes into more detail, describing the beauty of daffodils. He was so happy, he was overjoyed to see the beauty of these daffodils that he compares the beauty of the daffodils with continuity of the stars, and he means that they are endless like stars. These daffodils are endless like stars. He says that continuous as the stars that shine and twinkle on the Milky Way, as stars twinkle, they shimmer in a Milky Way. They are clustered together in a Milky Way and shine and shimmer together. He compares the beauty of daffodils with the beauty of the shining stars in a Milky Way. He means to say that they are endless like stars. Poet say, when he says that 10,000, he exaggerates here. He says that the stars that too seem to be, that these daffodils are large in number. There are host of these daffodils. And he says that they are endless. They too seem to be dancing when they twinkle. 10,000 saw I at, they stretched in never-ending line. They are stretching in a long line which goes beyond our sight. They are grown in long line which goes beyond our sight and spread along the boundaries of the lake. They are spread far and wide along the boundaries of the lake. Bay is lake. So he says that in this stanza, the daffodils are compared with stars which are spreading in the Milky Way and they shimmer together. Similarly, these daffodils are grown in a never-ending line, the line which is beyond one's sight. And then he says that 10,000 saw I at a glance. He exaggerates here and says that the bulk of daffodils has been seen by my eyes, by my first glance. पहली नज़र में मैंने लाखों daffodils देख लिए. Tossing their heads in sprightly dance. They are dancing. They are moving their heads like human beings. Again, he gives them the quality of the human beings, as human beings dance happily, sprightly, with full energy. These daffodils are so happy that they are moving, they are dancing with full energy. They too are enjoying in a beautiful nature. They are the part of nature. So nature itself is happy and gives happiness and soothing effect to mankind. Now, third stanza is the waves beside them danced, but they outdid the sparkling waves in glee. A poet could not but be gay in such a jocund company. I gazed and gazed, but little thought what wealth the show to me had brought. Now, in this stanza, the poet describes another beauty of nature, that is the waves of the lake. They are beautifully moving in the breeze, touching the shore. He says that although the waves also danced along with the daffodils, but the daffodils outdid, they excelled, they surpassed them in their beauty. But daffodils look more beautiful than these waves. A poet could not but be gay. He says that to see these beautiful daffodils dancing, fluttering, moving in the cool breeze, the poet becomes so happy, so overjoyed that he started enjoying this beautiful, cheerful company of the daffodils. Jocund company, very happy, cheerful company of the daffodils. That he was so absorbed in the beauty of these daffodils, these moving and dancing daffodils, that he started enjoying, his heart started enjoying the company, the beautiful company of the daffodils, the cheerful company of the daffodils, which has made the poet happy and cheerful too. I gazed and gazed. He says that I was so enchanted by the beauty of these daffodils that I stared and stared on them, at them till long. I saw them carefully till long, absorbed in the beauty of those daffodils. And at that time, I thought very little. I could not think at that time what wealth the show to me had brought. That these beautiful daffodils, what wealth of happiness. He means to say that what wealth of happiness these beautiful daffodils have brought to me. At that time, I could not understand. I was just looking at the beauty of these daffodils and could not think that what wealth, what everlasting wealth and happiness this beautiful scene has brought to me. Coming to the last stanza, that is concluding stanza of the poem. In the second last stanza, he says that I didn't know at that time what wealth it has brought to me. But in the last stanza, he has realized what wealth he has achieved by that beautiful view of the daffodils. He says, for oft when on my couch I lie, often when on my couch I lie, in vacant or in pensive mood, they flash upon that inward eye, which is the bliss of solitude. And then my heart with pleasure fills and dances with the daffodils. He says that while sitting on a couch, idly, when I have nothing to do at home and I'm sitting idly on my couch, or sometimes when I sit in my sorrowful mood, when I become sad most of the time, the memory of those beautiful daffodils becomes source of joy for me. It takes away all my worries, all my troubles, and makes me happy. They flash upon that inward eye in my dream. They start flashing. The memories flash in my dream, in my mind, which is the bliss of solitude, which is actually a great blessing for me in my loneliness. When I am alone, I enjoy the company of those beautiful daffodils. So he says it is a blessing for me in my solitude. Their memory gives me company and fills my heart with pleasure. He says, then my heart fills with pleasure in the memory of those golden daffodils. And he says that his heart begins to dance with the daffodils in his imagination. The memory of daffodils, in fact, takes away all his sorrows and boredom and makes his spirit dance with the daffodils. So he says that this was the great wealth that those golden daffodils had brought to me, because I don't feel alone. Whenever I feel sorrowful, they immediately flash upon my mind. They immediately flash, though the memory of the golden daffodils flash in my dream and make me so happy, so delighted that my heart starts dancing with the daffodils. My heart is, in fact, filled with pleasure when I recall the memory of those beautiful daffodils. So he says that the beauty of nature has a healing effect on Wordsworth's mind and heart. He means to say that nature always gives joy to human heart. It has healing effect. It has soothing influence for the grieved stricken hearts. So this thought prevails over all this poem, The Daffodils by Willam Wordsworth. Please like this video, and if there is anything to explain more and the thing which needs more explanation, kindly write in your comment. Thank you.